right is a wreath presenting the firefighters, police, EMS, flight crews, civilians who paid the ultimate price by laying down their life to save a fellow Americans. The wreath is to remember the following. I want to thank you to Guns and Hoses and Pipes and Dreams. Thank you. We have a special guest with us this evening. Karen Gallagher was born in Washington, D.C., raised in Wheathead, Maryland. She's also lived in Detroit, Michigan, Louisville, Kentucky, Salt Lake City, Utah, Alexandria, Virginia, and Turkey. She has been a permanent resident of Bonita Springs since 2006. And her attributes, her experience of 9/11 is the catalyst for moving away from D.C. area. She currently serves voluntarily on the Bonita Springs Local Planning Agency. She's worked for the federal government for almost 30 years. First for the Navy, then for the Army, and a short stint with the Defense Investigating Service, and then with the Air Force Budget Office in the Pentagon. She was working as a programmer, budget analyst for the Defense Intelligence Agency in the Pentagon when the plane hit on 9/11. Karen has a BA from University of Maryland and an MBA from Central Michigan University. She has raised 3 children, now grown, and has been married to her husband, David, for 31 years. Would you please welcome Karen Gallagher?
Thank you very much. I was asked by City Council member Steve Slatko to tell my personal story of 9/11. Frankly, I was unsure about agreeing because I feared I'd cry. So bear with me, please. You see, it took me 10 years to be able to attend any remembrance ceremonies after all those funerals. I was a Pentagon survivor who personally lost 8 friends and coworkers, and I found it impossible to forget. I am living here today because I felt I could never be safe in the D.C. area again. I have read and heard a lot about the 9/11 tragedy. The media has devoted hours of coverage to the World Trade Center because of the overwhelming number of people killed and wounded, and the courageous response from the first responders. The media reported on and Hollywood dramatized the story of the 40 heroes who brought down the plane in Shanksville, Pennsylvania. There has been a lot less said about the 184 killed at the Pentagon, both on the plane and in the building. I'm going to tell you my experience, and I hope to honor my 8 friends and coworkers who died there by telling it. I had worked in the Pentagon for almost 24 years, mostly as an analyst, first for Air Force budget, and the last 10 years for the Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA for short. In September 2001, I was a senior program analyst for the DIA Human Program, which is human intelligence, and that's all I'm saying. All of the activities I did within the budget year were focused on constructing DIA's part of the President's budget for presentation to Congress every February. My multi-service program had to be comprehensive, cohesive, and complete, with narratives, dollars, quantities, etc. All my work was classified. My day started normally when my husband dropped me off at the Pentagon. I went to 2 back-to-back meetings scheduled in the same office called the SCIF, where open storage of classified information is allowed. During the first meeting, and shortly after 9:30, we felt a huge shake of the building and heard a very solid thump. Someone asked if the air conditioning had made that noise, and I responded that I'd never heard that in the 20 years I'd been in the building. Just then, someone ran into the conference room yelling that there was either a bomb explosion or an airplane that crashed into us, and we had to evacuate right now. I jumped up immediately, left all my classified documents in the SCIF to avoid a security violation, grabbed my briefcase, purse, and jacket, and ran for the door. Our office had just recently moved to a newly renovated wedge of the Pentagon, and I wasn't that familiar with the emergency exits. I ran toward the brand new down escalators, holding my jacket over my nose as small debris and dust fell from the ceiling. As I descended, the air got darker and heavier, and I thought that I was literally going into hell. Luckily, as I got to the ground floor, I was able to see the daylight, not fire or smoke, outside in the large center courtyard, and I ran there. This courtyard has always been known as Ground Zero, but the term was taken by the World Trade Center after 9/11. As I emerged from where corridors 3 and 4 exit together into the center courtyard, I turned back and saw huge amounts of heavy, black, oily smoke rising from where I exited, and I heard the helicopters and planes all around. Someone from my office said, "Go stand by that tree over there so we can account for everyone," and muttered that I was leaving, turned, and ran. Employees were quickly leaving the building, but I was impressed about how orderly they were. First responders were entering with gurneys and medical triage supplies, and victims were already being treated. Sirens were piercing the air. Helicopters and planes were making noise, so I barely heard someone say something about the World Trade Center being hit by an airplane. Until that moment, I was not aware of the World Trade Center attack and still had no idea what just happened to me. As I was deciding which way to run, it occurred to me that there could be bombs at all the exits, and that by going through to the other side, I could be going back into danger and not out of it. But there is no other way out of the center courtyard except through the building somewhere. So I darted out through the non-smoky side. My husband worked a few blocks away in Crystal City, so I went there. As I walked, I met friends and office mates who didn't have anywhere to go. So I took them with me to my husband's office. When my ragtag refugees arrived, we were able to watch TV and learn what happened to all 4 airplanes, the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and the farm in Pennsylvania. From his high-rise office, we could see the ash floating down over the Pentagon, and all the traffic at a complete standstill. In fact, everything was at a standstill. The phones didn't work, the metro was shut down, people were dismissed from work, but couldn't get across the bridges to get out of D.C. People had cars in the Pentagon lots, but the first responders had blocked the lots with their vehicles, and employees couldn't get to their cars. Other workers ran out so fast they left behind purses, car keys, money, IDs, credit cards, social security cards, etc. I even know a woman who left her heels and jacket behind. I know people who started walking home in hopes of hitching down I-95 because they had no money, credit cards, or keys to use. Most people didn't get home for hours, and they had no means of communication with family and friends. All the people who left personal items behind had weeks of stress trying to reconstruct all of their credit cards, IDs, keys, etc. Even though this happened at 9:37 a.m., my husband and I couldn't leave the area until after 3 p.m., and even then it was a jam-up. When I got home, my voicemail was overloaded from friends and family from as far away as Australia and England. My boss had called trying to locate me because I was AWOL. Remember, I didn't stay near that tree to be counted. My daughter in Virginia had gotten a call from her psychic best girlfriend in Los Angeles, who the night before had dreamed that I was trapped in the Pentagon. My daughter was frantic. The weather was really hot and humid on 9/11 and for days afterwards. A week or more later, our female Navy captain, knowing how important purses were, broke some rules and entered the office to retrieve personal items. She took some flack, but nothing serious. Later, some of our office volunteers were allowed to go into the site and retrieve files, safe contents, etc. They went in with respirators and protective gowns, put down plastic sheets, and built cardboard boxes to carry the files back to a workspace in Bowling Air Force Base. They could only retrieve items that had been in safes and cabinets, and therefore not contaminated with mold and mildew. Because our work site was so close to the crash site, the area had to be sprayed with water to extinguish the fires and discourage sparks from spreading. Some of the people salvaging the files still became sick from inhaling the spores that grew in the office from all the wetness.